How did George Washington handle insurrection during his presidency? This is the Daily Word of Washington, Episode 7. Today's quote comes from Washington's 7th Annual Address to Congress on December 8, 1795, in what would now be known as a State of the Union. 1795 had been a year of seeking peace, both with those who had wronged America and those who America had wronged. The various treaties that had been signed, ratified, and reinforced in that year included Jay's Treaty with Great Britain, which addressed grievances following the Revolutionary War and sought to maintain a balance of neutrality with the nations of Europe, treaties with the Creek and Cherokee tribes, which were meant to reestablish peace following American aggression against them, treaties with Morocco and Algiers, which attempted to protect American trade vessels and citizens from seizure and enslavement by the Barbary pirates, and Pinckney's Treaty with Spain, which addressed border and trade disputes between the two nations. Beyond our agreements with foreign powers, 1795 also saw the conclusion of a domestic insurrection known as the Whiskey Rebellion. The rebellion had begun in response to attacks on whiskey and other spirits in 1791, and that same year saw violent protests begin, including the tarring and feathering of a tax collector. 1792 saw the violent resistance spread against people who had complied with federal tax officials, with the protesters on some occasions destroying stills and burning barns, as well as burning effigies of the federal tax inspector. The rebellion crescendoed to its climax in 1794, starting with the deaths of several rebels, including Major James McFarland, a veteran of the Revolutionary War. The rebels considered his death a murder, and this led to increased support for the rebel cause, including one meeting with over 7,000 attendees. In this meeting, they spoke of secession from the United States, and of following the example of the French Revolution and bringing out guillotines for the rich and powerful. Faced with this crisis, Washington first sought approval from his cabinet and the Supreme Court, before sending commissioners to meet with the rebels and rallying and drafting a federal militia to try and put a stop to this uprising. This show of force from the federal government stood in stark contrast to the weak response to Shays' rebellion by the government under the Articles of Confederation less than a decade prior. The rebellion fell apart before the Army's arrival, and only 24 men were arrested and tried, with 2 being convicted for treason. In 1795, Washington issued the first presidential pardons in the nation's history for these 2 men, Philip Weigel and John Mitchell, rather than seek for revenge and retaliation against the rebels. This show of force, followed by mercy, received widespread public approval. As Washington himself said, "Though I shall always think it a sacred duty to exercise with firmness and energy the constitutional powers with which I am vested, yet it appears to me no less consistent with the public good than it is with my personal feelings, to mingle in the operations of government every degree of moderation and tenderness which the national justice, dignity, and safety may permit." For the full address to Congress, be sure to check out Part 2.